Cześć wszystkim, z tej strony Astral i witam was bardzo serdecznie w kolejnym odcinku z Vampyra. Powracamy sobie jako nasz tutaj wampirek główny, Jonathana Reida. Zastanawiam się, czy z nimi gadać. W sumie, czemu by nie?
Good evening.
Evening, Dr. Reid.
No, dzień dobry. Osobiste pytania.
Tell me about your true feelings for Newton.
I love him. I'm not ashamed to say it. He's the best thing that ever happened to me. I can't imagine life without him.
Czemu miałby się pan tego wstydzić? To jest dobre pytanie. W sensie ogólnie, nie no, to można się domyślić, dlaczego miałby się wstydzić. W końcu to są czasy, gdzie ludzi, którzy preferowali mężczyzny się na przymusowe terapie farmakologiczne między innymi słało, więc...
Why should you be ashamed?
I'm not, I said. But Newton sees it differently.
I admire your honesty. It takes courage to stand up to society. The world needs people like you to create change.
Courage is what we needed in the trenches, looking death in the face every day. I speak plain. I speak my mind.
Have you always been this straightforward?
All I know is, before you saved me by the sewer, my only regret was I wouldn't be able to hold or kiss Newton again. I love him, that's all.
O, to słodkie.
Do you want to talk about why you have this fear of being enclosed, Mr. Thatcher?
No, I really don't.
An irrational fear like yours is usually rooted in a specific event. Perhaps it would help to talk about it.
Well, Doctor, take a guess then if you're so interested in my case.
When I rescued you, you expressed joy at seeing the sky again. So I'm inclined to believe you were trapped or buried somehow. Maybe during the shelling.
Jeez, you're good, Doc. You're really good.
Go on, please. Tell me more about it.
Newton and I were trapped in a circulation tunnel after an artillery attack. We were buried alive for several days without ever knowing if we'd be found.
Wskazówka. Newton i Oswald Thatcher zostali zakopani żywcem podczas bombardowania na wojnie. I to samo jest tutaj. Co się stało, gdybyś pogrzebany?
Oswald, tell me about what happened when you were buried in that tunnel with Newton.
It was more than dark. It was black as pitch. Hours seemed like days, and days like months. Oh, the terror, the shameful thoughts. Lord have mercy.
What you endured was terrifying. It would have completely destroyed weaker men.
It did not destroy Newton.
Shameful thoughts. Tell me about them.
At some point, I don't remember which day, but when I thought we'd never be rescued, that this would be our end, I thought about...
Say it, Mr. Thatcher. If you ever want to heal, you have to say it.
I thought about what I could do to survive, just for a few more days. I thought about killing Newton. Killing and eating him. The man I fucking love.
A to jest normalne, myślę, to po prostu się myśli zrodzone z desperacji i wiecie, jakiegoś takiego podstawowego instynktu przetrwania. Dobra, życie w Londynie jeszcze.
Why were you locked in that sewer? What happened?
I went by the canal after an argument with a friend. Got chased by these fucking wankers and had to barricade myself in, despite my claustrophobia.
Tell me about your claustrophobia. Has anyone given you an official diagnosis?
That's what the bloody doctor said. But I don't want to go to a hospital to get checked again. I'll deal with it my own way.
Oswald uważa, że nie musi iść do szpitala, żeby poradzić sobie z klaustrofobią. No dobra, a Newton? Kurczę, ten jest na jedynce, a ten jest na trójce? To ma sens.
Why did you run? What was the reason for your argument?
Newton wanted me to go to a hospital, but I can't stand being closed in. Makes me feel like I'm suffocating.
No dobra.
Mr. Thatcher, do you have a job?
No. Since I came back from the war, I spent most of my time and energy just trying to forget.
I understand what you mean. I was a soldier too.
No. Nobody can truly understand what I've gone through.
Oswald, why did you not go to the Pembroke Hospital to seek medical help?
I don't trust doctors. All they care about was their careers and processes. I won't be locked in any room again by anyone.
Your fear of being trapped is not going to go away by itself. You need professional help.
I've seen enough butchers in white coats to last a lifetime. Hospitals reek of chemicals and death. What I need is fresh air.
A jeszcze tutaj osobiste pytania mogę? Nie, czyli prawdopodobnie wskazówka dotycząca Newtona mi odblokuje dialog.
Goodbye, Mr. Thatcher.
Jeszcze.
Try to take care of yourself.
Dobra, wobec tego pogadajmy jeszcze z Newtonem. Gdzie jest Newton rzeczony? Aha, na górę się wspiął w międzyczasie. No spoko. To w takim razie idę go dorwać normalnie. Newton! Newton? O, tu. Oczywiście, że jestem ślepa.
Hello again, Mr. Blight. I'm happy to see Mr. Thatcher is safe for now.
I'm eternally grateful, Doctor. We were total strangers and you helped us anyway. Can't thank you enough, sir.
Czy to można jakoś obrócić? Nie, chyba nie. Szkoda. Chyba, że... Nie, dobra, nie. Okej, twoje życie w Londynie może.
What can you tell me about the war, Mr. Blight? If you want to speak about it, of course.
War was... Well, you know, sir. The stench of death everywhere. Your mates lying bleeding in the mud. Just praying to make it through and get home. Bloody nightmare.
I fought in France, too. I served as a field surgeon, but it was not uncommon to repel an assault, especially at night.
Yeah. The first time I was wounded, I had to protect the infirmary from hostiles. Twice.
Did you know Oswald Thatcher before the war?
No. We met in the battlefield. I think we're in the same boat to France. We've stuck together ever since.
Why do you stay here now that Mr. Thatcher's back?
It's complicated. Since the war, Oswald's been really nervous with the idea of entering any hospital. And me, I've got my own issues.
Can you speak about them?
Rats, sir. Even seeing one, they turn me. Just want to run. It's that fear that stopped me from going after Oswald when he left.
You are always welcome at the Pembroke Hospital. As a former officer, I'll be honored to welcome a fellow veteran.
I'm not giving up on bringing Oswald back to the hospital. I just need to convince him that he needs some help.
Perhaps he needs to reach that decision by himself.
Could you speak to him? He doesn't usually listen to doctors, but perhaps because you've been through it, you can talk him round.
Nie wiem, jeszcze się będę prawdopodobnie do niego wracała, ale zobaczymy. Dobra, w takim razie.
What caused your phobia of rats, Newton?
It happened last year following an artillery attack. I was trapped for 2 days in a hole under 2 dead soldiers. And there were rats.
Go on.
They started eating me as soon as I dozed. Gnawing at my ears, with fingers, lips. I couldn't move. Couldn't call for help.
I see.
No, you don't. You have no idea what it is to wake up buried under bodies. Fucking vermin eating your flesh. Oswald. He found me and saved me.
Boże, jaka trauma.
How do you feel about Oswald Thatcher? You are more than friends, aren't you?
I love him. I love Oswald. We knew we wouldn't survive the war without each other. But I am terrified, Doctor.
What frightens you so much?
What if people find out? Oswald says I'm ashamed, but it ain't that. It's more, well, you know, I never thought I'd love a man.
Okej, Newton Blight. Newton nie przyznaje się, że jest homoseksualistą. No dobra, w takim razie mamy wszystkie wskazówki na temat panów. Okej.
I won't say a word, Mr. Blight. Your secret is safe with me.
I fought for my country and I survived. I saw my comrades die. And now society tells me I'm a criminal for who I love. It makes me so angry.
You and Oswald were buried alive during the war. Tell me about it.
Yeah. It was last summer. A shell hit our trench and we were buried for a week.
Oswald seemed far more traumatized than you by the event.
It wasn't the first time it happened to me. Surviving it again gave me strength. You believe that?
How did you survive for a week?
Luckily for us, there were rations and water in the tunnel. It was an outpost, see? Since then, Oswald's not keen on being inside for too long.
No dobra, wobec tego. To w takim razie wszystko,
Goodbye.
tak więc żegnam. I się wrócimy do Oswalda, bo wydaje mi się, że to może być właśnie związane z tą wskazówką
Good
o
evening,
Newtonie. Ostatnia opcja z nim do poruszenia. Tak, o uczuciach Newtona.
Newton is conflicted about his feelings towards you. Would you like to talk about it, Oswald?
It makes me sad and angry. It feels like the beautiful thing we have is somehow tainted. It hurts to see him so lost.
His love for you is genuine. I'm certain he wasn't lying to me when he expressed his feelings for you.
Newton still has to accept it, knowing he'll be seen as a queer, a fairy, less than a man in those simple-minded bigots' eyes. Though he's more of a man than they'll ever be, so fuck 'em all.
No dobra, tak też można. Okej, w takim razie wszystkie
Goodbye,
opcje wykorzystaliśmy z oboma. Wobec tego idziemy oddać zadania poboczne, a mam je do oddania właśnie Toro Stricklandowi oraz... Czekajcie, chciałabym... Milton włożył pieniądze. Pani Milton, czy ja z tobą wszystko poruszałam? Wszystkie opcje dialogowe? Nie pamiętam nawet. Twoje życie w Londynie. Osobiste pytania. Aha, tutaj wszystko. Dobra, wobec tego... nie wiem, nie pamiętam już z kim rozmawiałam, na jakie tematy. Chyba z Klejem wszystko, jeśli dobrze kojarzę. Tak, udajemy się, myślę, do tego Stricklanda całego, tylko gdzie on będzie? On chyba będzie jakoś tutaj, nie? Strickland... Milton, Lady Ashbury. O, tutaj jest. Siema.
Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reid. Can I be of any help?
O Jezu, w ogóle jakie mam wskazówki na twój temat? Nie mam jednej, tak? Tutaj też czegoś nie mam. Dobra, czekajcie. Twój dostawca nie żyje.
I located the shop, but it was vandalized, and the owner is missing. All I found was your order.
I was afraid of such bad news. People are so desperate they're ready to burgle a shop for drugs.
That's quite a list you ordered. Opium, sodium hypochlorite. It can't be just headaches you're trying to cure.
This dreadful influenza, of course. I already ran some tests on hopeless cases. Without success, I must admit.
Do you realize you could...
Toro pokryjomu podaje pacjentkom eksperymentalny lek na hiszpankę.
create a lethal poison without the correct dosage? Then there are the legal ramifications.
Is this not true of any medical substance, Dr. Reid? However, if you would agree to improve it, I'd be glad to accept your help.
As long as you promise to be scrupulous with your experiments, I may try to gather these substances and even help improve upon the mixture.
That's all I'm asking for, Dr. Reid. That's all I'm asking.
O, ciekawe. No dobra, w takim razie mamy wszystkie wskazówki na jego temat. Ackroyd nie znosi nowoczesnych metod.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Okej.
Tell me, Thoreau, what's the real cause of your dislike for Dr. Ackroyd?
He refuses to admit that your blood transfusion technique is the only way to save Mr. Fiddick. I'm convinced we must use it.
What Dr. Ackroyd really said is that you lack the skill to perform this operation efficiently. Is there anything you have to say about this?
It's a false conceit. Dr. Ackroyd secretly envies your reputation. His jealousy blinds him. I'm not the real target here.
Wiecie co, to jest ciekawe, ponieważ właśnie doktor Ackroyd stwierdził, że ma problem tak naprawdę z jego umiejętnościami, nie z metodą, którą wybrał użyć. Więc no ciekawe.
I want to know about these secret tests you run, and if they can save people from this epidemic. Speak to me now, Thoreau.
I know I may sound presumptuous, but I'm just following your steps, Dr. Reid. I'm casting away the shadows of ignorance by daring to face them.
Self-confidence is essential in our line of work, my young colleague, but only if tempered with the correct amount of cynicism.
But you never doubt yourself, Dr. Reid. I've read all your articles and books. You performed the most daring research during the war.
O kurczę, nie wiem.
Don't you think we have enough work already? Perhaps now is not the best time to be chasing shadows.
Chasing shadows, really? It's funny those words coming from the only doctor here who has spent more time outside this hospital than in.
Okej, przyznaję, hipokryzja lekka z mojej strony.
Goodbye,
Dobra, w każdym razie,
I can't
Brakuje
let
ze
Strickland
składniki?
put his patients at risk with opium. Perhaps an adjusted formula will deliver more of a placebo effect.
Jezusie, przenajświętszy. Dobra, wiecie co, udam się w gruncie rzeczy, bo chciałabym skończyć śledztwo. Jezus Maria, ktoś tak drze. O, ktoś nieznany tam jest u Swansiego. Swansiego? Wiecie o co chodzi w każdym razie. Tak, chciałabym w sumie spojrzeć, czy ja mam potrzebne rzeczy. Czekajcie chwilkę, zanim składniki przygotuję lekarstwo. Czekajcie, co? 1 porcja nadmanganianu, potasu, podchlorynu, sodu, 6 porcji winianu żelaza. Winian żelaza, roztwór podchlorynu, sodu. Nieznana receptura antidotum. Silna dawka surowicy, środek na sepsę, esencja goździkowa, salicyna, esencja... nie rozumiem zgoła, szczerze mówiąc. Jak ja mam to zrobić? W sensie... jakoś... tutaj! Boże!
I have a mind to report him to Dr. Ackroyd.
Zdecydujcie zrobić w sprawie Thoreau. Czy ja mogę to nie przetestować, tylko przebadać? Nie mogą. Dobra, donieść doktorowi albo przynieść lekarstwo. O mój Boże, a czekajcie, w ogóle w ekwipunku chciałabym zobaczyć to. Mamy placebo, niewielka butelka, w której znajduje się nowe lekarstwo o ulepszonej formule. To dopiero jest ciekawy wybór. Dobra, idziemy do doktora Swansiego. No
God
witam.
protect us. You've got a leech in the hospital.
Yes, my hospital. My mission is to heal while you go about warring.
You've set the table for a snake. I wonder why there's venom in your food.
I'm growing tired of your song. You're a woodsman, McCallum, not a doctor. Return to your hunt.
Remember, I've a good nose for machinations. I can flare the scent at a mile. You can't hide from the god.
Leave
Fajnie.
him, Jonathan. This is sacred ground. Neutral territory. And I just had the carpet cleaned.
O Jezu.
By the sacred stole, this is very bad news. Bad news indeed.
Zobaczmy, co ja tu mam. Porozmawiam o wydarzeniach z Edgarem. Coś nowego się u Ciebie pojawiło o Edgarze, czy niespecjalnie? Chyba niespecjalnie, wydaje mi się. No, ale i tak chciałam obiec. Dobra, co mi powiesz nowego?
What happened?
The hospital has been attacked. We have injured patients, at least one dead and several missing. This has spiraled out of control. Even the most infirm are asking to be allowed to return home.
O Jezu.
We cannot have the people lose faith in this institution. This hospital is their only hope.
Of course, you're right. But we cannot afford a public scandal. It would ruin us. We must restore order, and quickly.
You mentioned a dead patient. Who is he?
She, Jonathan. She was Miss Harriet Jones.
Harriet Jones, ciekawe.
Found her room like a slaughterhouse. Blood everywhere. The duty nurse is taking care of the mess.
Very well. I'll help you.
I know this place means something to you. I have noticed how you suppress your appetite when around the staff and patients.
You need to know you can trust me, Edgar.
I do, dear fellow, I do.
Please then, tell me.
Sean Hampton, the man we thought we'd saved at the docks. It seems he was infected after all.
So Hampton became more beast than man.
Exactly. And now Guard of Prewen suspects the hospital of vampire activity. Do you realize what that could mean for us?
Rest assured, I will protect you and your staff.
McCullum is a fanatic. The Guard will stop at nothing. You don't know what they're capable of, Jonathan.
Very well. Since I brought Mr. Hampton here, I will put an end to this.
Okej, połóż kres barbarzyństwu syna Hamptona. Czy ty coś mi jeszcze
If you
powiesz
don't
nowego,
mind, I have a few
święty
questions.
smutas?
I'd be delighted to help.
Właśnie, czy ty masz... sporo rzeczy do pogadania.
Who was that man in your office?
Geoffrey McCullum, actual leader of the Guard of Prewen. I suspect he's the man behind the rebirth of this old and dusty society.
They know I'm here now, don't they?
I can guarantee one thing. The Guard of Prewen would never dare to attack the hospital while I'm in charge here.
What do they hope to achieve?
Their ultimate goal is the eradication of all vampires in the country. They see you as a threat to mankind, Jonathan.
Okej. Zrozumiałe ostatecznie.
I recently tried to enter a church. It has been a very unpleasant experience.
The Brotherhood's research on the matter of faith and vampirism has proved somewhat insubstantial, to say the least.
It's hard to explain in terms of science, that's for sure.
I'm sure Lady Ashbury will have far greater insight into this matter than little old me.
Is this proof that I'm cursed in the eyes of the divine?
The wrath of the Almighty? There's no way of knowing. It could be subconscious guilt, or irrational fear, or deep-seated beliefs.
I just recently met the strangest creature in Whitechapel. He was immense. He mocked me and accused me of hypocrisy.
Perhaps it was a skull. London's streets are overflowing with them these days.
Nie wyglądał na skalę raczej.
It was a vampire, all right. But what kind, I'm not sure. He was large and very fast.
If you find anything more about this creature, the Brotherhood would greatly appreciate any information you could spare.
He was observing me with the obvious intent to do me harm. His very presence evoked a palpable sense of menace.
You need to be careful, Jonathan. You've no idea what this creature really is.
What exactly happened here while I was absent?
Hampton turned, quite violently as it happened. Lurking about, attacked Miss Jones. To say he created quite a commotion would be an understatement.
No proszę, czyli wygląda na to, że właśnie Hamptona zaraził William, ten cały Bishop, on tak się nazywał, nie pamiętam już nawet. Tak mi się wydaje, aczkolwiek nie wiem. No zapowiada się ciekawie, zwłaszcza, że akurat nie chciałam Sina, tylko chciałam po prostu się dostać do tego. Sin Hampton jest właśnie filarem kolejnej dzielnicy Doki i tam właśnie się będziemy udawać, żeby zaprowadzić porządek. Bo czemu by nie? Tutaj widzę, że każdy jest zdrowy oprócz tego gościa, do którego ja się w tym momencie nie dostanę, bo nie. Dobra, dalej.
Are you sure it was Hampton that killed Miss Jones?
There was blood everywhere, but no body. And you know the state she was in. I fear for what he did with her. Hopefully he just hid the corpse.
How did the guard of Prewin come to hear of this?
McCallum has spies everywhere. He will jump at any opportunity to disparage the Brotherhood and show his contempt.
No dobra,
Thank
wobec
you.
tego idziemy sobie. Ja mam 2000 w tym momencie punktów doświadczenia, co by było w sumie fajne, żeby ewoluować święty smuta z East Endu.
Sean Hampton lives and breathes for the well-being of his flock. There's no other place he would go but the docks.
Dokładnie. Do doków. Tak, natomiast jeszcze. Ja bym chciała pogadać, z tobą.
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
What can you tell me about the recent events in the hospital?
That Mr. Hampton killed Miss Jones in her room, then ran away.
And did you see all this?
No, I was working by the tents when it all happened. I only entered the room when they asked me to clean up the blood.
Where is Miss Jones's body?
I don't know. I'd imagine the morgue. It all happened so quickly.
Did you see Sean Hampton leave the hospital?
I think I saw a silhouette exiting the hospital gates after the shouting started. At first I thought it was someone who was just scared, but... well, maybe it was him.
Co my tu mamy? O mój Boże, przepraszam. Odbija mi się oczywiście.
Tell me, nurse, did you know Dr. Tippett was addicted to medication?
I suspected this behavior for some time, but never dared to ask him about it. Until the day he confessed to me.
Why would he confess to you about his addiction, Nurse Brannigan?
Don't you know you doctors can't hide anything from a nurse? We're always there, even if you don't notice us.
Do you consider yourselves our confessors, Nurse Brannigan?
I wouldn't dare, Dr. Reid. But I'm intrigued. How did you discover Dr. Tippett's secret?
What can I say? I seem to have a knack for discovering secrets.
And for hiding them as well.
No tak zgoła.
Do you approve of his addiction?
Of course I don't approve. But I understand he needs it to fight the exhaustion. Let's hope he'll stop injecting himself once the epidemic is over.
And what if
No,
he
z tym się
doesn't?
zgodzę.
Then we'll have to convince him to stop. I believe he's still in control of his addiction for now, but we must remain vigilant.
Okej. Ojejku, kobito, czy ja... jednej wskazówki na twój temat nie mam, babo.
Goodbye, nurse.
Nie podoba mi się
Call
to.
me-
Dlaczego ja nie mam jednej wskazówki? Ważne wydarzenie widzę jakieś. Brakujące tak, ja widzę, ale mamy tutaj oznaczone wydarzenie, co jest też ciekawe, ale ja chciałam spojrzeć tutaj sobie. No dobra, może od kogoś innego, na przykład, nie wiem, od którejś
Good
innej
evening,
siostry.
Miss Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reid.
Dobra, przepytajmy ją.
What can you tell me about the recent commotion in the hospital?
Everybody's afraid. Death has always been a frequent visitor. But murder? How can we cope with that?
As a nurse at this hospital, it is your duty to deal with these things as best you can.
Yeah. Until it's my turn to have blood spread all over the walls. I entered the room first, Dr. Reid. I've seen what that monster did to the woman.
Milton cheats patients out of their money at this hospital, Pippa. Are you his accomplice?
Yes, I am.
Is this your definition of being useful? By abusing the sick and poor?
No. It is my definition of getting out of this useless life once and for all.
Why do you do it?
Why not? Most of the sick who paid for a bed are already dead, or will be soon. Don't you see the futility of all this?
How can you be affected by the misery around you and be so heartless at the same time? Which is the real you, Nurse Hawkins?
I could ask you the same question, Dr. Reid. Are you more real when you lie to a dying patient, or when you grant him useless medication?
Whose idea was it?
What difference does it make? We did it together, and I'm guilty as charged.
Answer my question.
It was my idea first, even though Milton would say it was his, to protect me.
Okej, menda z tej baby.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Bez kitu. Tego muszę przyznać się, nie spodziewałam, że taka menda z tej baby. Dobra, panie. A czekajcie, twoja pomoc przy miksturze Stricklanda. Nie, przepraszam, żegnam. Ja akurat myślę, że zaniosę to lekarstwo właśnie Stricklandowi. I mam nadzieję, że nie pożałuję tej decyzji.
Good evening, Doctor. And good evening.
Dobra, może wpierw o tym porozmawiamy.
About the recent commotion in the hospital?
I'm sure it was not your fault, Dr. Reid.
My fault? What do you mean?
No
Oh,
właśnie.
nothing. It's just... I heard it was you
dobra,
who
w
brought
ten
the murderer
sposób.
inside our walls. But you couldn't know, could you?
Tak.
I have managed to improve the mixture by diluting it. Have you ever heard of Sir Joseph Francis Olive? Or the placebo effect?
No, I don't think so. Why?
A placebo is a substance or procedure that has no actual physical effect.
You made a placebo of my project. Why?
Research has established that a placebo, as long as the subject believes in the effect, can provoke a positive physiological reaction.
Really? That's fascinating. And you want me to, what, administer the placebo and see what occurs?
Something like that, yes.
Well, I'm a bit surprised, but I trust you, Dr. Reid. Please take the key to my cabinet and put this placebo there for future use.
Okej, klucz do gabinetu lekarskiego. Super. Przyda mi się to. Żegnam. Brakujący składniku, myślę, lekarstwa w gabinecie. Tak, zrobimy sobie tą misję do końca. To jest, jak myślałam, na górze. Więc właśnie tam się przejdziemy w tym momencie. Bo kurka wodna, akurat to zadanie poboczne chciałam do końca zrobić. Więc no, i my mamy teraz tutaj przejście. Jej! Na dzień dobry. Moja słodka córcia. Czyta we mnie jak w otwartej książce. A, pewnie Harvey. Dobra, czy ja tu coś znajdę ciekawego? Pewnie tak.
It's locked, all right.
Zablokowane, serio. Dobra. Coś tu, nie, okej. Mamy. Dokumentacja medyczna M. Goswicka. Pacjent Mortimer Goswick, mężczyzna, 23 lata. Lekarz dr Aykroyd. Status w trakcie rekonwalescencji, data przyjęcia 27 października, data zwolnienia do ustalenia. Uwagi, pacjent wykazuje wiele symptomów skrajnego wyczerpania. Ma liczne rany na szyi, w ustach i na języku. Nie są to jednak objawy grypy. Nie odpowiada na pytania, twierdzi, że to zbyt bolesne. Zanim zostaną podjęte decyzje w kwestii jego zwolnienia, należy zapewnić mu odpoczynek i możliwość wygojenia błony śluzowej gardła. Okej, Mortimer Goswick, wskazówka. Mortimer nie jest zakażony Hiszpanką. No, jakby można się było domyślić. A tutaj mamy jeszcze wskazówki zablokowane, widzę, na temat tej damy. To też jest zablokowane. I to również. Jezus Mary, dlaczego wszystko jest zablokowane? Lista do doktora Swansea. Szpital Pembroke, 14 października. Drogi panie doktorze Swansea. Z przykrością informuję, że pomimo nacisku kładzionego na sytuację sanitarną w szpitalu Pembroke, ostatnio doszło do poważnego naruszenia etyki zawodowej. Siostra Gwyneth Brannagan została uznana winną niezaprzeczalnego, nieprofesjonalnego zachowania, które naraziło zdrowie pacjenta na szwank. O! Pod żadnym pozorem nie wolno pielęgniarce diagnozować pacjenta i dobierać mu leków bez uprzedniej konsultacji z lekarzem prowadzącym. Za mnie, panie Edgarze, wie pan, że doceniam, kiedy ktoś wychodzi z inicjatywą, szczególnie kiedy służy wspólnym interesom, zwłaszcza teraz w obliczu kryzysu. Ale nie możemy pozwolić pielęgniarce stawiać diagnoz i decydować, w jaki sposób będzie leczony pacjent. Niech fakt, że wspomniany mężczyzna przeżył, nie zostanie potraktowany jako okoliczność łagodząca. Łód szczęścia sprawił, że uniknęliśmy tragedii. Oczekuję w tej kwestii działania twardej ręki. Zwracam mi szacunku, dr Waverly Accord. Gwyneth Brannagan. Gwyneth była podejrzana o zaniedbywanie zawodowych obowiązków, tak? Ciekawe. Dobra, czyli mamy ostatnią podpowiedź na jej temat. Kurka wodna, ciekawych rzeczy ja się tu dowiedziałam, muszę
At
przyznać.
least
Dobra.
Strickland can't kill anyone with this formula.
No. Dobra, śledztwo zakończone sukcesem w
It's
takim
locked.
razie. Tego oczywiście nie wezmę, nie otworzę. Może się było domyślić. Cóż, trudno. Bo tutaj jest sala do operacji. A ja się tak zastanawiałam, czemu tutaj ja widzę ślady normalnie przykrych wydarzeń normalnie. Gdzie jest ta siostra Brennegan? Ona dalej czyści. To proszę ze mną
Good
pogadać w
evening,
trybie
Nurse
nagłym.
Good evening, Doctor.
Osobiste pytania? Twój brak profesjonalizmu.
According to the report I read, your unprofessional conduct put a patient in danger, Gwyneth.
That's not true. I know when my patient's life is at risk, and I'm more competent than a lot of doctors that I know. Problem is, I'm a woman.
I don't see what your gender has to do with your abilities, nurse.
Yes, nurse. Because I'll never be a doctor, no matter what my skills. I could make a decision that could save a life, but oh no, that's unbecoming conduct.
Have you heard of Elizabeth Blackwell? She was the first woman listed on the UK medical register. Change is slow, but it will come. And you will always have my support.
To have the right to study shouldn't be determined by sex, skin, or wealth. That's all I'm saying.
W sensie to jest prawda i no w dzisiejszym świecie już tak jest, że właśnie na szczęście każdy ma dostęp do edukacji, ale to jest prawda, że kiedyś to był problem. Dobra, w takim razie zobaczmy. Chciałabym spojrzeć na mój wykaz dzielnicy. O tym wiem wszystko, o tym też, o tym nie wiem jeszcze wszystkiego. W sensie tak jeszcze mam na myśli, że wyciągnęłam wszystkie... o wszystkim rozmawiałam. O, to z tym rozmawiałam o wszystkim. Z tym, z tą... Z Rakaszem chyba też, z tą dwójką tak, z tą dwójką również, z tą dwójką też, z nim również, czyli została mi tak naprawdę ta dwójka i ta dwójka do odkrycia, że tak to ujmę, i doktor Swansea, na którego temat nie odkryję za wiele w tym momencie. Dobra, moi mili, w tym momencie sobie zakończymy. Tak więc dziękuję wam bardzo serdecznie za oglądanie. Mam nadzieję, że odcinek ten wam się spodobał i że będziecie też oglądali odcinki następne. Zostawcie komentarz, łapkę w górę, bądź zasubskrybujcie kanał, będzie mi niezmiernie miło i do usłyszenia, mam nadzieję, następnym razem. Cześć!